Hare Krishna. Well, it's a pleasure to be here again in Arouca Mandir. All of you, which some of you are crossbreeds, coming from different areas. But I can see some improvements, material improvements. But we are here to discuss spiritual improvement. Material improvement is the nature of this world. But sometimes material improvement impedes spiritual improvement, although it's not necessarily true. Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya hirir dasye kamanamanasa gira ikinasvasya vastansu jivan mukyasya uchate. If one wants to be a servant of Krishna, one wants to Harir Dasya, one becomes a servant of Hari, then one must surrender every action, word, and thought to Krishna. And even though one may be working, one may appear to be just another ordinary person in this world. Just like Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy, when he met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was guiding a retinue of soldiers and military people. And he met Mahaprabhu. And because of his spiritual advancement, even though he was a Kayasta is a Shudra, an intelligent Shudra. There are different types of Shudras. Most Shudras are not so intelligent. But he was, and there's the Kayasta class, which are considered Shudras because of their work, but they're very intelligent. So by classification, social classification, he was not very high. But when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he fell into ecstasy, and they embraced one another, and tears were coming from their eyes. And the military phalanx that he was, not a phalanx, but group, they were bewildered. Why is this sannyasi embracing this, not so high class government representative? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to embrace Prataparudra, but he embraced Ramananda Roy. But then they stopped because of social convention. So Ramananda Roy appeared, by everyone's estimate, to be an ordinary government minister, government worker, government post. But he was on the highest spiritual platform. So there's no impediment. The only impediment is within ourselves. Materially speaking, we are subject to karma. But spiritually speaking, we're only subject to the limitations which we place upon ourselves, which we accept as part of our existence. So we'll speak a little bit about this. I thought I would read one text from the second chapter, text number 15. Yamhi vyatayante purusham purushashabha samaduka sukham dhiram somittattvaya kalpate. I'll just read it with program. You don't have to repeat. Yam, one to whom he certainly, not, never, yet they indeed are distressing, that they, all these, Purusham, to a person, Purusha, O best among men, Sama, unaltered, Dukkha, in distress, Sukham, and happiness, Dhiram, patient, Saha, he, Amitattaya, for liberation, Kalpate, is considered eligible. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Before we read the purport, the previous verse, the two first instructions of Krishna to Arjuna are in the previous verses. One of them, Ashurcham, Pragapadamata Vishase, Gatasamagatasumucha, Nanoshurcham Nipanditaha. Arjuna, why are you lamenting for that which is not worthy of lamentation? The material body. Material body, we shouldn't lament because it will die. As Srila Prabhupada said, as soon as you're born, you begin the process of death. As soon as you're born, you're guaranteed. This is the one guarantee. And everything else may happen, may not happen, according to our karmic situation. But death is sure. And so, I said, why are you lamenting for the body? So this is the first, otherwise, the first instruction Krishna gives to Arjuna is that you are a fool. This is the first prerequisite for spiritual life. Accepting that we are a fool. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, Trinadapi Sunichena. Be humble. Krishna says the same thing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this from Bhagavad Gita and from Bhagavatam. That if we don't accept our position, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later in the Shikshastika, Stitaduli Sadrishim Vichindaya, if we don't accept that it's a very elevated position, to be a small spiritual particle at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't accept that. Then we are, otherwise we don't accept humility. Humility means that I am a small particle, because this is this is the first step to greatness. Everyone wants to be great, and it's a valid desire, because compared to matter, we are great. Om Jnana Tivanasya Jnana Shakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Vishware Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So because of ahamkara, because of the false ego, everyone wants to be great. It doesn't matter what circle we are in. This is called, there was a book, famous book when I was young, called The Territorial Imperative, which means that in the animal kingdom, in each species, there is one alpha species that will try to be the greatest, because the soul is great. Here later on in this chapter, it says that to hear about the soul is amazing, to see the soul, to understand, it's all amazing. The soul is amazing. Compared to where we're at this point in time, the soul is amazing. Otherwise, we are calculating everything in a relative way, relative to matter. And so because Krishna says, and later in Bhagavad Gita, Dharyate Jagat, that the living entity is superior to matter. Or, as Krishna says, also, Indriyani Paranyahur Indriyadya Param Manasa tu Para Buddhi Yo Buddhe Paratastu Saha. He says that the senses are greater than matter, and the mind is above the senses, and above the mind is the intelligence, but higher than all of this is the soul. So until we understand this, then our desire for greatness will just be relative to some inferior species. Otherwise, we find the living entity establishes its greatness by placing itself above others, above matter, just like now, especially as Kali Yuga advances, greatness is established by how you can defeat matter. And now it's very much on a physical platform. Just like India a few months ago, I met this famous football player, Messi, from Argentina, big soccer fan. So there were thousands of people, even for me to get in there. I had a special pass. I had crowds, thousands of people to see one man who's expert at kicking a ball, and hitting it with his shoulder, his head. It's like in New York. Next month we have Rath Yatra in New York. I will be there. And always in the park, there's some people that spin around, spin the shoulder and do this and that, spin around this way, that way. And everybody's amazed that they can do all these things with their body. And then there's the Olympics, and then there's all kinds of sports, and then the supreme activity, cricket. One time I was in Brazil, and there was a soccer match, big Brazil versus Italy, I think it was. Literally speaking, there was no one on the street. I looked out, we couldn't see a human being anywhere. All stuck to their television. And Brazil lost, and people were breaking windows. Anyone, there was reported like some huge number, like almost over 100,000 televisions broken. People, they lost it, just broke their television. So it's just, and also whenever I give a class in India, there's only like maybe 70, 80 people. I know there must be a cricket match. Usually there'll be 300, 400. If there's 50, 60, I know there's a cricket match. So this is the unfortunate situation that we're in Kali Yuga. And we establish our greatness by, and this is called envy. Envy is the opposite of humility. Humility means we're establishing our real greatness as servant of Krishna. That is the greatest position. It's like when I was young, growing up, I went to a military school. So everyone was competing to get the highest grade, lieutenant, captain, major. Major was the biggest position. So I had been there for 3 years, and the fourth year, somehow or another, people thought that I had some ability. And so the head of the school called me and said, I would like to make you the major, but so-and-so is a big donor, and his son, he's the biggest donor, so he's going to have to be major. But I'm going to make you the lieutenant aide of the major, which means even though there's captains and lieutenants technically above you, because you are the aide to the highest man, you have the strongest position. Because you can influence him and you can influence everyone else. So this is the position of the devotee. When we actually surrender to Krishna as a devotee, we are automatically above everyone else because we want to be servant of everyone else. Then you become the greatest. The Mahabhagavat thinks that everyone is above me. It's like I was mentioning this morning, Srinivasacharya says, Dhira Dhira Jana Priya Priya Karo. That the six Goswamis were loved by everyone, the gentle, cultured people and the uncultured people. Why? Nirmatsaro Pujito. Because they were free from all envy. Nirmatsaro Pujito. Because they worship the Lord, they became worshipable. Everyone liked them. And so the point is that this is the position. This is Krishna's first instruction. And his second instruction is the previous verse to this, Mattasparsha Mattasparsha Takoteya Shitoshna Sukadugataha Agamapayino Nitya Tamtitikshasvaharita. You must learn to tolerate. And this verse that we just read, person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, otherwise one who knows how to tolerate, what is the result? So amrita playa kalpate. That amrita, amritaya, Srila Prabhupada translates as liberation. But technically, amrita atvaya means that one is a recipient of nectar, or amrita. One becomes free from death. This is nectar, because death is the limiting factor. Death is the element that keeps us within material nature. It keeps us imprisoned. As soon as we become amrita, deathless, otherwise as soon as I realize that I am a spirit soul, not that I understand it theoretically, but I realize it, which means what? It means I surrender. Just like most people in spirit, they think spiritual life, just like people will strive very hard to make money. Because money, you can buy material happiness, or you think you can. So people strive very hard, do so many things. But when it comes to spiritual life, people are generally, as Bhagavatam began, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Gādvaha. That people are spiritually lazy, and those that lead them are even worse. They keep them from advancing spiritually. Modern society keeps us in ignorance. It keeps us in ignorance, foolish mentality. So amrita, nectar. That's when you can begin tasting nectar. And that's when you can also begin to taste the nectar of spiritual life and taste the nectar of chanting the holy name of Krishna. When you actually, because as long as we're attached to this body, the senses, just like some of you may have been online, there was a memorial meeting, gathering for Agnidev Prabhu, and one devotee, Rameshwar Prabhu, read one verse, which I didn't happen to think of this morning when we were having that little kirtan in Arouca Temple, where it says, Chetapangana Samviti Vijayate Sarvindriyanam Putim. A verse by Rupa Goswami, where he says, first he says, Tunde Tandavali Katim Vitanute Tundavali Labdaya. That when Krishna began to dance on the tongue in the form of the holy name, then you want to have many tongues. You want to have many mouths. So that dancing, Krishna dancing on your tongue. How do we get that to happen? By trying to do the maximum. Generally in spiritual life we try to do the minimum. Just like I also mentioned this morning, that Srila Prabhupada, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada, how can I chant 16 rounds with quality? And Srila Prabhupada said, 16 rounds means no quality. It means minimum. If you do the minimum, how can you have quality? But somehow or another, we're willing to do maximum when it comes to money. We're willing to do maximum when it comes to my ego. But when it comes to spiritual life, we're always looking for the minimum. What is the minimum I can do? What is the minimum amount of rounds? Srila Prabhupada gave 16 rounds to just, get under the rope, just to be somehow on the spiritual path. But quality, Prabhupada said, means you can't stop chanting. The only reason you stop chanting is because your chanting has evolved into service. You have so much service to do for Krishna that there's no more time for chanting. You can't take any more time for chanting. So much to do. And so the same. Sometimes we hear, just like there's an injunction for people that if you see a sannyasi and you don't offer obeisances, you should fast. So therefore, let me offer obeisances, so I don't have to fast. Not because there must be a reason why there's that injunction. someone represents Krishna, you're supposed to bow down. But since we don't have a tendency to do that, then there's an impetus. Well, you want to eat, bow down. And so the point is that maximum in spiritual life is outlined by Krishna at the end of Bhagavad Gita. What is that maximum? What is the famous, and not the last verse, but the famous last instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita? Yes, Savanamam Bhaticha Jamani Maikam Sharanam Varaja. Then we surrender. That's the maximum. That's what we do if we want to advance in spiritual life. So therefore, this verse that we're considering now is beginning to deal with this issue. That when you can give up happiness and distress, distress is very easy to give up. We want to give up distress. But how do we try to do it? By being materially happy, by having more money, by having more facility, by having better health, by having better material situation, by being married to the most beautiful woman, by being married to the strongest man, by having some fame, by having some quality in this world. But here, Krishna is again emphasizing, you want to give up this duality, happiness and distress, samadukha, sukha. The same. It's the same. Otherwise, as much as you don't like to suffer, you should not want to enjoy this world. Not to enjoy the holy name. Not to enjoy serving the deity, cooking for Krishna, cooking for the Vaishnavas, serving the Vaishnavas. That is unlimited joy. But it's not happiness. Here, happiness means stimulation of the senses. And when we analyze the stimulation of the senses, just like sexual pleasure, eating pleasure, what is it? It's just a matter of how close the nerve endings are to the surface of the skin. That's what it's all about. How are my nerve endings situated and how are they being stimulated? Or how is my mind being stimulated? But as I just quoted from the last part of the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the soul is superior. So why are we trying to stimulate something that's inferior? Just because we are attached to this body. So, Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. So, one's determination to, otherwise, if you're determined to advance spiritually, then you will be very determined to give up this duality. So if we're not determined to give up duality, if we're not determined in spiritual life, if we're looking for the minimum, just like nobody looks for minimum wage. Let me see how little they can pay me. I want to find a work that pays absolute minimum. Does anyone do that? No. But we do that in spiritual life. Let me see. Let me get by with the minimum. You don't get by. So, this is Srila Prabhupada's statement. Then you're eligible for liberation. So here, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna and Srila Prabhupada emphasizing, he's giving something that is measurable. Sometimes people feel spiritual life is intangible, is something ethereal, something that, just like sense pleasure, I know what it is, I know how to get it, I know how to create it. But this spiritual, it's like, okay, I like to dance in kirtan, I like to chant, when it kirtan, japa, well, that's another question, but we like kirtan, japa, most people think, when can I finish? When will this be over with? But when we think, how can I never finish this? How can I chant unlimitedly? Then we're making some spiritual advance. We're going beyond happiness and distress because we want to stop chanting because we have something better to do. Our mind thinks there's something more pleasurable than chanting the holy name of Krishna. And therefore we do the minimum because our mind. Now what does Krishna say about the mind? Arjuna is, he complains about the mind. He says that Chanchala Himana Krishna, that the mind is chanchala. It's very, it's flickering. It's vacillating constantly. How can I, control this? And in the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada says, we should look to Ambarish Maharaj. If we want to control the mind, look to the process that he followed by offering every aspect, his hearing, his chanting, everything he did for the pleasure of Krishna. Every part of his body, every aspect of his existence was an offering to Krishna. And then it says, so you can control the mind by chanting the holy name of Krishna with humility. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trinada Pisarichena, Tarori Vamasi Vishwana. Amanina. Amanina is actually, the first thing is humility. The second thing is, if you want to practice humility, you must tolerate. And to tolerate, it means, how can you tolerate? You understand that everyone is greater than you. And that's a very difficult thing to understand. We generally do the opposite. Try to figure out how I'm greater than everyone else. And even if it doesn't seem that way, we will think, I could be, but I don't want to be. I could be, I don't want to be. And I'm greater than everyone in some way. But some people may appear to be greater than me, but I'm not striving for that. So this false ego is very, very difficult. So then Srila Prabhupada goes on. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, mainly the renounced order, sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But anyone who is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similar beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. This is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. So here Srila Prabhupada, although he's giving the example of someone taking in Varnashram system the order of sannyas, most of us will not take sannyas, but all of us must be sannyas. Meaning, we have, just like Queen Kunti, although she's one of the greatest philosophers in Vedic history, she accepted her position, said, I am a woman and generally as a class, women are not so qualified. She stated that. And then at the end of her prayers, she says, my dear Lord Krishna, please allow me to sever my attachment for my children. Now, who were her children? The Pandavas. Now, is she insane? I want to give up my attachment to the greatest devotee, personal, intimate associates with Krishna, whom Krishna personally took care of while they were in exile. I want to give, no. She's saying, I want to give up the idea that they are my son. I want to see them not as my son. I want to see them as your servant. So this is the process of detachment that Srila Prabhupada is talking about here. And detachment means, surrender means detachment. It means detaching myself, because surrender is an absolute necessity for the living entity. We are all surrendered. But to whom are we surrendered? Just like if you're a citizen of Trinidad, just like in Arouca Temple a couple of days ago, we did that, well, I didn't because I don't know it, said the national anthem. Everybody stands up. I repeat this national hymn. And why? Because we're subordinate, we're surrendered. You have to be surrendered. Whatever country you're born in, whatever condition you're born in, you're surrendered to that condition. You're surrendered to your mother and your father. You're surrendered to the government. Just like in the Bhagavatam, it says, to whom does this body belong? Well, there are many people that are making the claim. It's like sometimes there's a property, like this property. The government, we're using it. The government says it belongs to them. So the body, I say this is my body. We all say that. This is my body. But then the government says, no, you're wrong. It belongs to us. If you want to leave here, you have to have a passport. You have to register. If you want to do this, if you want to be a good citizen, you have to pay taxes. The government's claiming the body. And Bhagavatam said, and those living entities, there's so many living entities that are inside the body. This is my home. This is my mobile vehicle. Takes me where I want to go. It feeds me. This is mine. And some of those little entities, they can take control of the body. Some little bacteria, they get together and have a revolution, and you have fever. They take over. And we're thinking, I'm so powerful. And then the dog, the jackals, the vultures, they're thinking, no, that's tomorrow's food. That's my meal, waiting. So many people are claiming. The children are claiming, that's my father. The man is claiming, that's my wife. And so, who's the real owner? So we know that we know that the real owner is Krishna. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He said, everything belongs to me. Just like Krishna is Makan Chor. He is a thief. He's known as a thief. But he can't be a thief if he owns everything. He just acts like a thief to give pleasure to his mother and to give pleasure, just like when all the cowherd ladies came to Mother Yashoda and they said, can't you control your child? He's stealing butter, and we don't know how he does it. We actually hid our butter. We were hanging our butter on the rafters in pots hanging from ropes in a dark room where no one can see. But this boy of yours, he has some mystical potency. He has these jewels that shine in the dark, and he sees it, and somehow or another he reaches the pot, and if he can't reach it, he takes a stick and he pokes a hole in it, and he takes our butter. And then he gives it to the monkey. Even when Krishna stole Mother, when in famous Damodar Leela, he takes the butter and he begins to give it to the monkey. He's saying to Mother Yashoda, You thought you were turning something special to me. It's not even good enough. I'm giving it to the monkeys. And even the monkeys are not liking it. So they complained. And Mother Yashoda said, all right, I'll keep him home. No, don't do that. So Krishna's being a thief creates so many wonderful pastimes, so many beautiful transcendental emotions. But if you be a thief, then you'll go to jail. So we can't imitate Krishna. Just like Srila Prabhupada said, famous example, he gave it many times. He said, so the soldier, he goes and he kills the enemy. He comes back and they give him a medal. But that's because he's surrendered. He surrendered to the government. He did what the government, they give him a medal. But if he decides to kill someone, they put him in jail. So the same thing. We are all surrendered. But to whom, to what are we surrendered? To sense gratification, to working hard, to some woman, to some man, to some child, to some entity, to some planet. We're surrendered. So the renunciation that is being spoken about here is simply transferring your surrender. Just like if you own a car or a house, you have a little piece of paper that says it's yours, and you just sign it over and give it to somebody else. But that little piece of paper, it's an easy thing to do. We just sign on it. There's a line, you sign on it, give the piece of paper, and that car, that property, that whatever it is, it belongs to someone else. So the act of giving the paper is not very difficult. But it's all based on the value of the object that you are giving. So the same thing. The only reason that surrender to Krishna is difficult is because we've given such great value to something that doesn't exist, according to Bhagavad Gita. Just the next verse, Krishna said, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. So we are surrendered to something that doesn't exist. Because if you put this body, if you make a line of time, just like if you take your lifetime, even this day, if you drew your lifetime of 75, 80, 85, 90 years, however much it is, you drew and you take this day, today, and you put it, you couldn't even see the point in the whole lifetime of this day. This day seems so long. We could do so many things in a day. So this life, if you put it on a scale of just, since modern history is considered to go back about 7,000 to 8,000 years. How your lifetime will not even be a little point on that line. You can't even make a point small enough to represent your lifetime. That's how great it is. And yet, we're giving it so much importance. So this is what Krishna is recommending here. Surrender. Give up this attachment to something that doesn't even exist. On the line of time. This life doesn't exist. This body doesn't exist. The Christians say, from dust it came and to dust it will return. And the Vedas say that it's simply matter. It's simply dead matter. When Krishna says the first instruction, Ashocha Sangha Shocha Tvam. He's saying basically that You're lamenting for something that really never existed. The soul exists eternally. And just like some matter that is Tejo Bari Vidam, Yata Vinyayo Yata Trisargom Visha. Bhagavatam begins by saying this. What is matter? Some earth, some water, and some fire. You combine them, you make a brick, you put many bricks up, it becomes a building. But everything will be crushed. You go to Greece. I remember when I was young, about 18 years old, I went to Greece, and of course I didn't know Krishna consciousness, but I felt it was a school tour. What are we doing here? Just looking at something that's dead. The buildings that are all falling apart. What is the use? What is the greatness? The greatness is gone. And then I began to meditate. When I got back, we came back through New York City, I saw these big buildings, and I thought, all these will crumble, just like we just saw these buildings crumble, these will crumble. And so here we have a house, I've got new air conditioners, but it will all crumble. And this body will crumble. So this is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. Think like this and understand what is the reality, the soul. If you can really understand the soul, then you can chant the holy name. And then where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, understand the soul, insignificant particle at the lotus feet of Krishna. Then you will understand your greatness. You are part and parcel of Krishna, the supreme, unlimited being. You are Satchit Ananda. You are unlimited. You have unlimited Ananda at your fingertips, literally at your fingertips. No? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. No? We have Ananda at our fingertips. We just have to learn to use them properly. And then, so Bhagavad Gita is so wonderful. If we actually learn how to meditate on this Bhagavad Gita, not just, oh, here another one of these Bhagavad Gita class, when is it over so we can take prasadam? Sometimes we get stuck in a routine that, all these routines, oh, we're supposed to do this now we do this. And everything becomes like some mechanical thing that I'm doing. And life, most people's life goes by like that. The six vikaras, the six changes, transformation. First, you're born, you grow, you born, grow, prosper, exist, dwindle, and die. And most of us go through life like that. Just, okay, next step, I go to school. Next step, I go to higher education. Next step, I get married. Next step, I have children. Next step, I have grandchildren. Next step, no, somebody's attending your funeral. And we just go through that. And we're just perpetuating generation after generation after generation. Because people, it's not good business for people to think. Just like you go on Google, right? Gives you all these suggestions what to think about. But it's all related to what other people want you to think. So, and Krishna's also, he's teaching you what he wants you to think. So really what we're choosing is, do I want to take the choice from the 24 little squares on Google that this is interesting, Iran war, this, that, what's happening here, what's happening there, how to do this, or do we want to take Bhagavad Gita and think the way Krishna wants us to think? And the way that Krishna wants us to think, Srila Prabhupada is repeating that. I've mentioned many times, even Einstein couldn't figure that out. with his big brain, he couldn't figure out Bhagavad Gita. He couldn't accept Krishna as a person because he said, how can a personal God allow 6 million people, because he was Jewish, so his big dilemma was 6 million people were killed. And it was horrible, Holocaust. But he couldn't go beyond thinking that how could God allow this to happen? He couldn't do that. All this, he was figuring out the theory of relativity and relativistics. And he couldn't figure out Bhagavad Gita. So if he couldn't figure it out, how will we figure it out? By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Parampara, the Bhagavad Gita will be revealed. And it is being revealed. We just have to open up and allow that revelation to enter into conquer our mind, conquer our senses. This is our process of renunciation. And surrender. Surrender to these teachings. Surrender to this understanding. And then we can go back home, back to God. So this is some thoughts that I wanted to share on this wonderful opportunity that we have. But we have to do it in a mindful way. Sometimes we have, and I can include myself, we have a tendency to be mindless. Our mind is working very hard. Mindless means you don't use the mind properly. You don't use it as a disciplined tool to understand, to retain the senses, as I just said. And how does that happen? Rupa Goswami says by chanting the holy name. Chitta Pangara Sangini Vijayate Sarvindriyanam Tim. That it happens when we allow the holy name to dance in our heart. We allow the holy name to capture our tongue. We understand here is Krishna in the form of in this most easily approachable form. Just like most devotees, when they begin to worship the deity, they're very nervous. I may make some mistake. I may dress the wrong way. I may do this. I may touch the deity the wrong way. I may not do the achman properly. So many things. So many rules. But when we chant the holy name, there's no such consideration. You don't have to do achman. You don't have to do anything. You just have to say, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Gaura. Just invoke the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by this surrendering process. My dear Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are distributing unlimited mercy. Let me be a recipient of that mercy. By your mercy, by Nityananda, by Advaita Prabhu, by Gadadhar Prabhu, by Srivas Prabhu's mercy, you have come to allow me, this most fallen conditioned soul, to have access to you in this most accessible form of the holy name, which requires you don't have to dress. If you worship the deity, you have to take a shower, you have to put on clean clothes, you have to chant mantras. But if you worship the holy name as your deity, then the only thing you have to do is dress your consciousness with humility, dress your consciousness with tolerance, dress your consciousness with respect for others, and with not desiring that anyone recognize me. But Krishna, yes, please recognize me. But how? As an atom at your lotus feet. Not as the best of all devotees in Trinidad. And then you can be the best of all the devotees in India. And then you can be the best of all devotees on the planet. And let me be dasa anuyasa. If we can think in this way, then the holy name will dance in our heart, neutralize the mind, and the senses will be conquered. And then we will taste the nectar of these two syllables, Krishna. So, just some thoughts I had today. I'll stop here. Any comment, any question? Must be hungry. Or desirous to see the Lord. Maybe that's probably it. Okay? If there's no question, no comment, thank you all very much for your kind attention. I pray that something that I've said has some impact and some relevance. And if we could just try to find relevance in everything we do in Krishna consciousness, then we can advance very quickly. Doesn't take much. Really, Srila Prabhupada said, what does it take? You simply open your mouth and say, Hare Krishna. What is the effort? The effort is internal. Will I allow the holy name to penetrate? Or will I just maintain it as a process, as a tool for what I want? Or will I become the tool for what the holy name wants? That's the decision we make at every step. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi.